Now it's time for our penultimate race of the programme, the Senior Rotax Max Class. These single-speed direct drive karts are for drivers aged 15 and above, and victory in the pre-final has put Japan's Ukyo Sasahara onto pole position for the VB-DR team in kart 281. Alongside him is Irishman Charlie Eastwood for Strawberry Racing in kart 228. The pair was split by just 0.2 of a second in the pre-final, so we're expecting a really close race here. Third on the grid is kart 241, driven by Australia's Piers Lehane for the International Karting Distributor team. Starting fourth in kart 279, French Canchar, driving for top Hungarian team Kalman Motorsport. Here we go then, the red lights are extinguished and the grand final begins, and there's a rising scream of revs as pole sitter Ukyo Sasahara leads the 34-strong field into the first corner. Lehane from third on the grid is right behind him. There's a bit of nudging and a cloud of tyre smoke as somebody skids off into the gravel trap. Here's a replay, and it just looked like a concertina effect as the front runners braked a bit late. Everyone else had to slam on the anchors, and I think it's Harrison Scott that gets squeezed up into the air. Alexander Zenkin is vulnerable on the outside line. He took the hit, got sent into the gravel, and that's a huge disappointment for the Russian driver, who had made a great start from 8th on the grid. Meanwhile, Ukyo Sasahara has held the lead from pole position. Piers Lehane has gained a place and run second, and then it's Charlie Eastwood down to third place. And that just goes to show how important it can be to qualify up at the front. It's always a mad rush into the first corner, everyone fighting for every inch of track. If you're a bit further down the order, it is very, very easy to get caught up in somebody else's accident, especially if you're on the outside line, because when karts spin, the momentum always takes them to the outside of the track, and if you're there, you can get collected and pushed off the track, just like Alex Zenkin did. That said, if you're brave enough and lucky enough to try the outside line, it can be a good way to gain places as everyone else bunches towards the inside curve. Now look at this, a challenge for the lead as Lehane gets alongside Sasahara at the start of lap 2. He got better acceleration out of the final corner, and it gave him that little bit of extra speed down the straight, and so through goes the Australian. Lehane now into the lead from third on the grid, Sasahara down to second, Eastwood third, and at the back of this lead quartet we've got Britain's Oliver Hodgson in the black race suit, driving kart 232, representing KR Sport. He's gained a place from 5th on the grid. So Hodgson is 4th, and then there's a bit of a gap back to 5th, which is at the moment kart 220, driven by Ed Brand. So he's had a good start. The British driver gaining 2 places from 7th on the grid. And there's also been a very successful start to the race from Portuguese driver Francisco Moura in kart 280. He's climbed from 12th to 6th. The top 4 running along like carriages of a train that are all coupled together, nose to tail, as they head towards the completion of lap 2. The better overtaking opportunities all come in the first half of the lap here in Portimao, so it tends to be a little bit of follow your leader through the second half, and then they all try to set themselves up for a run into turn 1. Late on the brakes, and Eastwood runs a little wide. Hodgson put the nose of his kart into the gap, and the Briton goes through to third place in kart 232. And now down into the hairpin, up the inside of Sasahara, and he just 4 corners. Hodgson has gone from 4th to 2nd. Here's the new race order then. At the start of lap 3, it's Piers Lehane who leads from Oliver Hodgson, Ukyo Sasahara and Charlie Eastwood. Australia, from Great Britain, from Japan, from Ireland. Just coming into the picture now in 5th place is British champion Ed Brand in the 220 kart. Brand has already had a strong season in Europe, finishing as runner-up to Sean Babington in the Euro Rotax Max Challenge. And not too far behind Brand in 6th is Portugal's Francisco Moura. But already there's quite a big gap back to the next group of karts, and so the top 6 have pulled clear in the early stages of this Senior Rotax Max Grand Final. We're on to lap 4 of the Rotax Max race here at the Grand Finals in Portimao, Portugal. Australia's Piers Lehane leads the way from Britain's Oliver Hodgson. The top 6 have broken clear. This is the battle for 7th, and heading that one is 278 Marco Di Leo from Canada. He's got 246 Joseph Mawson and 229 Alexander Finkelstein breathing down his neck into the hairpin. Di Leo skids wide, 3 abreast, all change. Mawson and Finkelstein both get through, and he's going to lose another place to 218 Petra Betzel from the Czech Republic. Back to the leaders, and it's still Lehane and Hodgson, 1st and 2nd, from Japan's Ukyo Sasahara, who was last year's junior champion. And 4th is Ireland's Charlie Eastwood, who's also started on the front row of the grid. Ed Brand and Francisco Moura run together in 5th and 6th, but they are now very definitely closing the gap to the lead quartet. And when he joins the lead group, which he's almost done now, Ed Brand is going to be a force to be reckoned with. He was the 2011 British Rotax Max champion, and he was 2nd in this season's European Challenge, as I've already said, taking a race win along the way. 7th, 8th and 9th still running together, and then the next trio arrive with a move up the inside there for 259 Harrison Scott. He's just overtaken the Estonian Arvo Talvar to get back up to 11th place now. got qualified 6th for this race, but got caught up in the first corner melee and dropped right down the order. So Harrison Scott's next target will be to break into the top 10. To do that, he now needs to find a way past Canada's Marceau De Leo in kart 278. And here is that battle for 10th. Scott already through, and De Leo is going to lose another place as Avo Talvar pounces as well. A whole gaggle of karts just behind them, led by Jordi van Moorsel, one of only 2 Dutch drivers to make the final. Now we've got a fight on our hands for second place. 3 karts travelling together at around 90 kilometres an hour, and it's the white race suit of Ukyo Sasahara that gets the place. Charlie Eastwood is also past Oliver Hodgson, so Hodgson is quickly demoted from 2nd to 4th. The 2 front row men fighting back together. Pierce Lehane has pulled away slightly with all of that, but not by much. Sasahara and Eastwood can still see him, and already the gap closes up once again. Sasahara and Eastwood pushing each other along, trying to quickly hook themselves onto the tail now of the race leader, Pierce Lehane. Still a long way to go, we're not yet at half distance. Into turn 1, and Sasahara is mega late on the brakes, and from a long way back he's managed to squeeze ahead of Lehane. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Sasahara didn't look like he was going to be close enough to strike just yet, but he's done it, completed the pass on the exit to turn 1, and for the first time since the very start of the race, Ukyo Sasahara leads the grand final once again. But now he comes under attack from Lehane. Lehane almost loses it. He was far too late on the brakes. That sent him wide on the exit to the corner, and as he struggles to get his kart back under control, Eastwood and Hodgson just power past him. With the benefit of hindsight, that was probably a bit rash from the Australian. He'd only just lost the lead. He tried to get it back straight away. He outbraked himself, and instead of gaining a place, he loses 2 more. The result, it's all change at the front. Sasahara leads, Eastwood is back up to 2nd, Hodgson is 3rd, and Lehane to the back of the group in 4th. Ed Brand is still 5th, and despite threatening to get involved in this lead battle, he hasn't quite managed to do so as yet. Then 6th, 7th, 8th run together over the start line, as Francisco Mora is going to lose 2 places. Joseph Mawson and Alexander Finkelstein both come by, so that puts the Australian Joseph Mawson up into the top 6 for the first time in this race. He's the teammate to Pierce Lehane, and he's going well in the 246 kart. Mawson started 13th, so he's gained 7 places. And with him is the Frenchman Alexander Finkelstein, who started 10th. Fantastic to watch these very quick karts racing wheel to wheel around this, one of the longest circuits in Europe. Pretty high average speed around the lap as well. There aren't too many slow, tight corners here. The 125cc engines produce just under 30 horsepower, which doesn't sound that much, but bear in mind the karts, together with the drivers on board, have a minimum weight of just 165 kilograms. So that equates to around 170 brake horsepower per tonne, almost double the power of your typical family car. It's the cornering ability of these karts that's so impressive. They just seem to stick to the road. So there's some tremendous force being generated through the arms of the drivers as they hang on to these things. Kart racers tend to have very strong forearms, big triceps, and also very strong neck muscles. Now, was that Ed Brand finally able to make a move in the 220 karts? Yes, it was. He's just moved ahead of Pierce Lehane. He's put the former race leader back down to 5th place now. Well, Lehane did rather well to lead the first half of the race. He did a couple of rounds of the Euro Rotax Max Challenge this year, but he wasn't really one of the leading lights in the championship. His best result was an 8th place finish in the final round at Salbris in France, although he did finish 2nd in the pre-final that weekend. Nonetheless, I don't think Pierce Lehane would have come into this meeting as one of the favourites to win. He has gone really well all weekend. Hasn't got enough left now to produce a fight back, having dropped from 1st to 5th in the space of just a couple of laps. We're almost on to the end of lap 14, 2/3 race distance completed, and Japan's Ukyo Sasahara leads the race from Ireland's Charlie Eastwood. Then the 2 British drivers, Oliver Hodgson in kart 232 and Ed Brand in kart 220. And now Eastwood lines up a move. He's going for the lead of the race. He gets past Sasahara. Hodgson wants a piece of the action. He goes inside Sasahara. Brand tries the outside. He gets his front wheel clipped, and somehow they all come out the other side. We've got a new race leader then as Charlie Eastwood hits the front for the first time. In fact, he's our 3rd different race leader after Pierce Lehane and Ukyo Sasahara. With only the very best Rotax Max drivers from around the world invited to come and take part in this meeting, he qualified for the grand finals after finishing as runner-up in this year's British Championships. Eastwood is just 17 years of age. He hails from Belfast in Northern Ireland, and it's perhaps an appropriate moment at which to point out that in 13 years of Rotax Max grand finals, we've never had a champion from Ireland. So could this be an historic win for Charlie Eastwood? Well, let's take nothing for granted. He's got a bunch of very quick, very talented drivers right behind him, all of them keen to take the victory. We're about to head on to the start of lap 16, so 6 laps to go. Charlie Eastwood leads from Oliver Hodgson, Ukyo Sasahara, Ed Brand and Pierce Lehane. Is there going to be another change for 2nd place here, though? No, not quite. I thought Sasahara was going to sweep past Hodgson, but the British driver keeps the place through turn 1. They head towards the hairpin. Another chance for Sasahara to get by, and he takes the opportunity with a good move under braking to get back ahead of Oliver Hodgson. Sasahara just doesn't want to let Charlie Eastwood out of his sight. He may hail from Japan, but Ukyo Sasahara is well versed with European competition and finished in the top 10 in this season's Euro Rotax Max Challenge. He was also very successful in the Central and Eastern European Challenge, which took part in Hungary and Austria. In fact, with 2 wins out of 3 rounds, Sasahara was the biggest point scorer in that series, but because he didn't come from any of the Central and Eastern European countries, he didn't qualify for the championship title. To all intents and purposes, though, he won it, so Sasahara poses a real threat here in 2nd place. But now he's the one to come under attack as the 2 British drivers pick up a tow down the straight. They're ganging up on him. Brandy's already through. Now Hodgson is going to try and do the same, and he makes it too. 1 step forward, but now 2 steps back for Sasahara as he's dumped back down to 4th place. Eastwood, Brand and Hodgson, the new top 3, with Sasahara now 4th and Lehane still 5th. And joining this lead group is Alexander Finkelstein and Joseph Mawson, who have both patiently been chipping away for the last 7 or 8 laps. More action up front as Ed Brand tries to go around the outside of Charlie Eastwood. It doesn't work. It leaves him off the racing line, and so Oliver Hodgson nips back to 2nd place. Sasahara tried to take advantage as well, but it's gone horribly wrong for the Japanese driver because he also strayed off the racing line and lost not 1, not 2, but 3 places in the blink of an eye. And there's been another move at the hairpin. Alexander Finkelstein has moved ahead of Pierce Lehane, and so suddenly the Frenchman driving kart 229 is up to 4th place and has got a chance of finishing on the podium. In fact, any of these 7 drivers could still win the race. Fantastic stuff. It's building into a real crescendo of action now with just 2 laps to go. Eastwood leads side by side again for 2nd, but it's 2-3-2 Oliver Hodgson who keeps the place. Ed Brand is 3rd in kart 220. Alexander Finkelstein is 4th, and then you've got the former race leader Pierce Lehane in 5th, with another former race leader, Ukyo Sasahara, all the way down to 6th place now. Meanwhile, Joseph Mawson is at the back of the group in 7th. Here comes Brand, down the inside of Hodgson and back up to 2nd. Brand learnt from his mistake on the previous lap there, tried for the more traditional pass down the inside rather than a risky move on the outside, and it paid off. He's back to 2nd, and he's not yet given up on a race victory. But with all of this infighting, they have allowed Charlie Eastwood to break away, and with little over a lap remaining, it's going to be a concerted effort to catch and then pass him. Away from this lead group, Francisco Mora, Arvo Talvar and Harrison Scott complete the top 10. Charlie Eastwood starts the 21st and final lap of the race then. Ed Brand is 2nd, and then Oliver Hodgson is coming under attack for 3rd place as Finkelstein tries to get alongside over the curbs for Pierce Lehane. I think that was as he got his nose chopped off, but after looking like it was all going to kick off at the first corner, the top 5 in fact emerge in exactly the same order. There's Eastwood, there's everyone else in a long line, and way out wide was Ukyo Sasahara. I thought he might have won this race about 5 minutes ago. I certainly had him down for a podium, but now I don't think he's even going to finish in the top 8. Plenty of action as Joseph Mawson, Francisco Mora and Alvo Talvar join the fun. There's only about a 1.5 seconds covering 9 karts now from 2nd place all the way down to 10th position. All of the time, Eastwood pulls away in the lead. He's almost home and dry now, but who on earth is going to join him on the podium? Brand is 2nd, Hodgson is 3rd, Finkelstein is 4th and Lehane is 5th, and there's no change at the hairpin, which is probably the last clear-cut overtaking chance of the lap. Hodgson is still trying to create an opening, but he's also got to defend that 3rd place from Finkelstein. Meanwhile, Eastwood is on the home straight. He's applauded over the line, and Charlie Eastwood is the 2012 Grand Final champion. Nose to tail for 2nd, but it's Ed Brand who takes the place, with Oliver Hodgson completing the top 3. Alexander Finkelstein finishes 4th, just 83 thousandths of a second away from a place on the podium. Having led much of the first half of the race, Pierce Lehane has to settle for 5th. Congratulations then to Charlie Eastwood as he becomes the first ever Irishman to win at the Rotax Max Grand Finals. He qualified on the front row, dropped to 4th at one point, but once he hit the front at 2/3 distance, there was no stopping him, and he went on to take a deserved victory. Well done also to Ed Brand and Oliver Hodgson, who enjoyed a great tussle and both make it onto the podium after a tough, competitive and hugely enjoyable race. And now, of course, it's time for the champagne spray. And watch out, everyone, because an Irishman will know, of course, how to celebrate. A superb way to end the season. Let's hear now from the man himself.
So what can you tell us about your day today? You had a fantastic day today.
Yeah, it went pretty well. Pre-final, we just had a solid result, and then we knew we just needed to stay for the final up at the front, and then we had a plan, just sort of 7 laps to go. Then that's when we took the lead. So then that's what I done, just took the lead, and then a bit of carnage happened behind, and that just gave me the gap to get to the line.
That was a great run-up. What happened there?
Yeah, I was always just sitting sort of third and fourth for the first sort of 10, 15 laps, just sitting there pacing myself. And then gradually, I was just, as something happened, I just sort of gradually just got up one further, and then I was in the second. And then I just kept trying to push Yukio Sashihara, who was leading at the time, just tried to keep pushing him so we could get away, so nothing happened. And then just 7 laps to go, I just went and passed him, and then they all started passing each other, and then that was it.
So you were able to hold on to your advantage, right?
Yeah, I just had a small lead, and then a couple of laps to go, Brand tried to pass me, overshot it, and I cut back, and then they all started passing behind, and which gave me a gap.